Before we go any deeper, I want you to really breathe for a moment and take in where you are right now, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because nothing in your life will shift until you shift. And nothing in your life will change until you make a decision so powerful, so honest, so absolute that it disrupts the pattern you've been living in. The secret to taking control of your life starts with the moment you decide that your decisions matter. Now, most people don't realize just how much power they hand away every single day. They give it to their past. They give it to their excuses. They give it to their environment, their habits, their fear, their fatigue, their relationships, their circumstances. They hand out pieces of their power like it's candy. And the moment you give away your power to something outside of you, you lose control over the direction of your life. But here's what separates the people who create an extraordinary life from the people who keep repeating the same year 75 times and call it a life. They know that decision is destiny. Not chance, not luck, not fate. Decision. And when I talk about decisions, the moment you change the meaning, you change the emotion. The moment you change the emotion, you change the action. The moment you change the action, you change the outcome. The moment you change the outcome, you change your life. All of it comes from the decision. But let's get even deeper, because it's not just the big life-changing decisions that determine your future. It's the little ones you make every day, decisions about how you show up, decisions about what you tolerate, decisions about what you believe you deserve. Every time you hit snooze, that's a decision. Every time you say, I'll do it later, that's a decision. Every time you scroll instead of act, that's a decision. Every time you settle for less than your standard, that's a decision. Every time you say, I can't, that's a decision. Every time you let fear talk you out of opportunity, that's a decision. And those decisions repeated over time become your identity. People don't lose control of their life all at once. They lose it one small decision at a time until one day they wake up and say, how did I get here? But the path to taking it back is just as simple. One small decision at a time. One choice that says, I'm done living on autopilot. One moment where you draw the line and say, from now on, I'm in charge. You reclaim your life the moment you decide to become the architect of your identity instead of the product of your circumstances. Your decisions are not just choices. They're votes for the person you become, for the future you build, for the life you live. Every decision you make is a brick in the foundation of your destiny. The question is, are you building your future intentionally or by default? And here's the truth most people avoid. If you don't make decisions consciously, you will be controlled by habits subconsciously. If you don't take command of your mind will take command of you. If you don't direct your life with intention, life will direct you with pressure. And pressure doesn't care about your dreams. Pressure doesn't care about your potential. Pressure only cares about your patterns. But you have something stronger than pressure. You have choice. Choice is the ultimate power. Choice is the equalizer. Choice is the doorway through which every transformation begins. You could have had a terrible childhood. You still have choice. You could have been betrayed. You still have choice. You could have failed 100 times. You still have choice. You could have lost everything. You still have choice. You could be broke, exhausted, scared, overwhelmed. You still have choice. And choice changes everything. I've seen people who had nothing, no support, no safety net, no confidence, make a decision that launched them into a life they never imagined. And I've seen people who had everything, resources, opportunity, connections, destroy their life because they kept avoiding the decisions that mattered. Your circumstances do not create your life. Your choices about your circumstances create your life. Now, I want you to think about something. Every breakthrough you've ever had in your life, anything significant, anything meaningful, came from one decision. One moment where you said, enough. One moment where you said, I'm done playing small. One moment where you said, this ends today. One moment where you stepped into a level of truth so raw and so real that everything after felt different. That's the power of a decision. But the decisions that change your life don't come from pressure. They come from clarity. And clarity comes from honesty. Brutal honesty. The kind of honesty where you stop lying to yourself about why you're not where you want to be. You cannot take control of a life you keep lying about. You cannot take control of a life you keep avoiding. You cannot take control of a life you refuse to take responsibility for. Responsibility isn't blame. Responsibility is power. Responsibility is the ability to respond, to choose, to act. You don't take control by controlling others. You don't take control by controlling situations. You take control by controlling the one thing that is fully yours, your decisions. Some people spend their entire life trying to change the world around them because they're too afraid to change the world within them. But the moment you shift the world within you, the world around you has no choice but to shift as well. If you want a different life, you must make different decisions. If you want a greater life, you must demand a greater standard. If you want a more meaningful life, you must choose meaning over comfort, vision over fear, action over excuses. And listen closely, not choosing is still a choice. Choosing to stay confused is a choice. Choosing to wait for the right moment is a choice. Choosing to stay in pain because it's familiar is a choice. Choosing to let fear influence you is a choice. Choosing to say someday is a choice. And someday is the language of people who never take control of their life. The people who create extraordinary lives speak differently. They speak in now. They speak in today. They speak in this moment. Because they know that the most powerful time in your life is not your past, and it's not your future. It's the decision you make right now. Taking control of your life means taking control of your decisions, especially when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncertain, especially when it feels like you're standing at the edge of your identity and you're terrified to jump. But if you never jump, you never grow. If you never grow, you never expand. If you never expand, you never experience who you truly are. And who you truly are is so much bigger than the life you've been living. Every time you make a decision aligned with your future instead of your fear, you reclaim another piece of your power. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you take back another inch of your destiny. Every time you decide to act instead of hesitate, you send a message to your brain that says, I'm in control now. And once your brain believes you are in control, everything in your life begins to reorganize around that truth. Your relationships change, your environment changes, your standards change, your habits change, your identity changes, your opportunities change. Not because the world suddenly became easier, but because you finally stepped into the driver's seat. There's a version of you, stronger, bolder, clearer, more focused, more powerful, who is waiting behind one decision you've been avoiding. And the moment you finally make that decision, the moment you commit to it with everything in you, the moment you stop negotiating with your old self, that's the moment you take control of your life. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're not powerless. You're one decision away from a completely different life. And it begins right now.